To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I am one of your hosts, Andy Zomerman.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Al Day.
How are you?
I'm good. I just realized something. People always ask me if I go by Al or Alfred.
I know.
And it's an annoying thing because I don't really care. And then they get upset because they think I should care and it's the whole thing. But when I introduce myself on this podcast, I just say Al.
Yeah.
And so I should let the listeners know I don't care.
Oh, well, I don't call you. I don't think I've ever in my life called you Alfred ever.
Yeah. It's a work thing. Like, I don't know anybody in my personal life that calls me Alfred. My mom used to, but when I was in trouble.
Yeah.
And my older brother used to annoy me because that's one of the things he did. He would call you by your first and middle name.
Okay.
Alfred Earl, and you want to punch him in the teeth. But in general, my family calls me Bip. So
yeah. And I've never called you Bip for real.
Yeah, why not? What's that about?
I don't know. I've just always called you Al, and then we always called you Al, and then that was it. So I don't know. What did they call you in high school?
Al, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, teachers call you Alfred because that's what teachers do.
Right. So
I have no preference, and I feel like the pressure over the years that I should have developed a preference, but I really have no preference.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Not that I would call you anything different, probably.
I wouldn't imagine so. Although at one point in our live, you went from Andrea to Andy, and I was like, "What's happening? What are we doing?"
I will tell you. I can tell you that when I was born and little, Andy was the name that my parents called me, and then in school it turned to Andrea because that's what teachers see your full name as, and then Rima, Rima, who became my best friend, and she called me Andy. So then through high school, it was kind of like people who knew me well called me Andy. People who didn't know me too well called me Andrea. So it was kind of one of those things. And when I got to college, they started calling me Andy. I remember one of my professors was like, do you go by like randomly? Do you go by Andy? And I'm like, yeah, I do actually.
Yeah,
Nobody's
strangely
ever
enough,
asked that before. And so that was fun.
And then I was dating someone named Andrea, and that really got confusing.
Yes, exactly. When I moved to Oregon and I got my first job, they started calling me Andrea at first, and that was fine. And then she called for recommendations from my previous place of employment. They said, Andy. Oh, Andy, we'll talk about Andy. And when I showed up to work, my nameplate said Andy. So there you have it.
There you go. This is the scintillating conversation that Emma and Annika talk about that we never get to the point.
Well, it has nothing to do with Disney at all. So there you go. So tell me about your Disney week that probably has nothing to do with either one of our names.
Well, I mean, everything has something to do with our names. For example, I would like to put my name on a magic key at Disneyland, which I just really put off because I was like, I'm not going to Disneyland anytime soon. So why get it early? Even though with the magic key, the actual effective date is actually the first date you use it and not the day you buy it. But I put it off. And then the two top tier magic keys sold out. And so now only the Enchant key is left for Well, there's the Southern California resident key, which I don't qualify for because I am in Northern California.
That's correct.
And there's the Enchant key, which is the one that's left. And I'm looking back and forth saying, should I get the Enchant key and just try to upgrade if the other keys become available? I looked at the lockout dates. I'm going to be in Anaheim April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for WonderCon, and then in September for D23. So I'm like, well, that's 2 trips where it'd be nice to have those passes. And other than the Saturday of D23, those are not blocked out. So I'm just going back and forth on whether I should just get the Enchant key now or wait until it's closer to the date that I'm going, because
get it now.
I know, but I want the higher tier key.
Yeah, but you're not going to get it. It's sold out.
I know. And I'm like, when do I think they'll be available? And they're probably not going to be available until at least a year. And even then, I don't think there's going to be a lot. At least a year from when they first went on sale.
Right.
I doubt there's going to be a lot available. Right. Or Disneyland decides to free up more, which is they're really tight on controls on the magic key. So I'll probably just get it now.
I think you should get it now. I think they're like selling. It's crazy. And they have that at Disney's California Adventure, the Wine Country Trattoria, where my daughter Emma works. They are transforming that balcony area into a Club 33-ish. I'm going to say ish because it's not as expensive as Club 33.
Yeah, it's a little less expensive.
So
slightly less expensive than
more of like just another entitled benefit for those who have magic keys. So
and I am entitled in so many ways. Why not this one?
So yeah. So okay. So that's your week. You're going to tell me if you're going to buy it or not.
I'm probably going to buy it. I just hate spending money.
As we learned from our just most recent vacation, sometimes you spend money and you get better things.
And I think that's true logically, but I grew up poor, and so it's always like, oh, should I spend this money? I'm sure there's something else I could do with it. But this is something I like and something I want. And why not just spend the money?
You should spend the money. Yeah, listeners, go ahead and just, let them know on Insta or Facebook.
Go to my GoFundMe and we're going to throw up a GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe for that? Oh, God, I would throw up. I
always thought I should put up a GoFundMe. And the whole point of the GoFundMe is I like to raise funds to be a wealthy person and to see how many people would donate. Just to be blatantly honest, what I would like is to have a lot of money. That is what I'm asking you for help with. Please.
I can't even with this country anymore. It might be real.
Help me become rich.
Real. Oh, my God.
Are you going to donate any to charity? No. I mean, my own charity.
Stop. There's too many people who are really.
I would like to pay for things for me.
Can we not even get into this right now? Because I could make a parallel of someone high up who's doing something very similar, and I don't want to do that right now. So
I don't want to work anymore. How was your Disney?
Anyway, okay, so I have to tell you about mine because I need you to do it. And everybody, there is a podcast, believe it or not, more popular.
Yeah, Dueling Disney. It's the best podcast on the internet.
It's called Sway, and it's a New York Times podcast. And she interviewed Bob Iger a couple weeks ago, and I finally listened to it. Yes, and it was Bob Iger's first interview after he was done with Disney. So I loved it. He described a little bit about why he decided to leave Disney when he did. There was a couple times pre-COVID where he was supposed to retire and then he didn't, and then he finally did, and he went on the board, and now he's off. Now he's no longer with Disney.
I assume he is still a significant shareholder.
I'm pretty much sure that if he shows up at Disneyland, he's not going to have to wait in line.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting, and I really encourage you guys to listen to it. I'll put the link of it on our show notes. Really fascinating. I know you cannot tell people who they are unless you meet them, but he just seems like a good guy. He really does. He just seems like a good guy. And I never thought that about Michael Eisner. So I know
Michael Eisner never seemed like a good guy.
I know he did a lot for the company, but I never was like, oh, that's a good guy. I just always think of Bob Iger as like, oh, he's such a folksy kind of guy. So
well, and it's funny because Michael Eisner is the one who used to tried to take Walt's place in the Sunday night movie, and nobody bought it. I remember even being a kid being like, why is this corporate CEO trying to pretend he's connecting with me?
Yeah. I remember that. But
you're no Walt.
You're not Walt. I really like Bob Iger. I liked him even more after this podcast. So
that's cool.
Wish he was still there, but he's not, and I understand why. And he's just, good guy, I think. Not knowing him in person.
I mean, I'm a little annoyed they didn't tap me for chairman, but bygones.
Yeah. Well, why don't you see if you can get Bob Iger on this podcast, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I can make some calls.
Mm-hmm. You go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I lived in LA for many years. I'm sure there's some parking lot attendant that has the connection.
I can get you a connection. I have a connection. So I do.
Oh, la-dee-da.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's
Is your connection Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Lord. Okay, so the reason this is part 3 of our vacation, because we could not stop talking about our vacation.
We're those people.
We are those people.
Oh my God, I had so much fun. When you get back from vacation, that's all they talk about. Oh, I went to
look at my picture.
Barcelona. Yeah, that's
the reason we went in January was because the Festival of the Arts was opening. And for the Zomermans, at least, we had never been to the Festival of the Arts and really wanted to do that. Kind of planned on doing it last year, but COVID hit, and even though they were open during still the pandemic, we're still in it, but they were open in 2021. The Broadway singers were not there, and that's kind of the main reason the Zolmermans wanted to go. I don't know about Al. Al was just tagging along.
I'd be honest, I didn't even know it was happening until we got there.
I know. Anyway, but that's why we picked the week that we did. So the Festival of the Arts was actually pretty cool. If I had to do it again, I might go towards the end of it rather than the beginning. I thought
I agree. That's such a good point.
Way too crowded for my taste. When we walked into Epcot on that first day of the Festival of the Arts, we were able to get in a half an hour earlier before the general public because of the staying on site, and you got to get in half an hour earlier. The people packed to get in the park was huge. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, wow, all these people want to get into the Festival of the Arts. That's like, oh, it's crazy. We better get to where we want to go before, any of this happens. Well,
turned out
when the park opened, they only wanted to go to one place, one line. And that line was to buy the Figment popcorn bucket with the rainbow popcorn.
Which I had no idea when I got to the park. I was like, I thought it was because they all lined up at that food thing. And I was like, wow, this food thing is way more popular. Because it was like from the front of the park. And the line started, and I'm walking for like 15 minutes, and they're still in the line. And I was like, man, what are they selling here?
Yeah, those Pop-Tarts must be really good because everybody's in line. No, they were waiting hours and hours and hours and up to 10 hours for a Figment popcorn bucket. You might have seen it if you follow any of the Disney news. There have been plenty of people who have stood in that line and posted the Figment popcorn bucket with the rainbow popcorn because they got it.
Spoiler, we did not.
Spoiler, we did not even try.
Spoiler, would not have gotten it if I could, because I don't know who Figment is. I'm a West Coaster. I know it was in that ride 20 years ago that I never saw. I have no connection.
It's still there. We could have taken you on the ride.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
So that's what they were all there for. So still crowded a little bit. After they got their buckets, they were walking around the park with their buckets draped all around themselves and their children and their
looking
dogs
very
or whoever they
can. They're like 2 per person, right? My dog gets one. My Aunt Gladys gets one. I brought the urn for my grandma.
The whole family is walking around draped with 2 Figment popcorn buckets. And I can't even make fun of them because people are buying them, right? I mean, people are buying them for $200. So what?
But they're not though. They were buying them for $200 like that day. I did some research on this. And what happened is because Disney's got like, if you want one, they'll sell you one. They're still selling. And they're down to like $20-$30 at this point. It's the eBay thing, right? Like if you think it's scarcity, you're gonna pay a lot. But right now, I think I'm looking at one for like $30.
Is that true?
Oh yeah,
on eBay?
I just pulled it up. Most of them are like 50, 60, but yeah.
All right then.
And then somebody sold the popcorn only. Somebody is selling the popcorn only
see that
for $23, which I find hilarious. Yeah, it's like everything collectible, right? Like you got to be careful. If somebody tells you this thing is collectible, it's probably not.
I don't know. Yeah, that was a little wacky, but the rest of the festival I thought was beautiful. Some beautiful art. Al bought some beautiful art.
I bought some. Oh, I'm so happy with my purchase.
Yeah. Do you want to say what it was? And then we can show.
So there isn't. Oh, what is his name? There's an artist there whose name I will put in the notes along with a picture, but who does this really cool work. And I got a for my wall, which I'll put pictures of it on our Instagram, along with other pictures of my office wall. A big replica of an e-ticket or the e-ticket book, the ticket book from Disneyland with A through E tickets on the wall. And it's so awesome. And he was a really cool guy. He signed it for me to the happiest place on earth. They had the, which I thought about getting, but didn't. You could have also got it customized with your name. But I was like, no, I'm more of the e-ticket guy.
Yeah, I like
so
that
cool.
too.
It was, as a Disney collector, I always rather get something that I don't see everywhere rather than like, hey, here's Mickey on a surfboard. So I'm really, really happy with it. And then I ended up having it shipped because I didn't have enough carry on and all that kind of stuff. But it was really cool. The arts piece, if we were to go again, I would want a full day to just go through all the art stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, we're just not going to, like, if we happen to get on an attraction, great. But we're going to, from morning to night, we're going to eat and we're going to art and we're just going to do that. Because we did do the eating, but right. I can eat a lot more if I eat all day than if I have like a one time to eat. So it's
that's the benefit about living close by to a park, right? Same with Disneyland. When those things happen, you can go to just look at the art or, just eat or whatever and not worry about anything else. I love that. So the art was great. They had a lot of interactive activities. You were gone when we went back, but we participated in like this painting this mosaic artwork kind of stuff.
Oh, that looked cool. I saw that when I was there, but I didn't participate.
Yeah, that was cool. There are a lot of cool things. And then, why we went to see the Broadway performers. And so when we were there, we saw, it was funny because we were wondering if they were married for the longest time and they weren't, but we saw, I just lost the page. We saw, I think it was Ariel and Adam. There we are. Ariel Jacobs and Adam Jacobs. And so we're like, assuming that they're married, they both played in Aladdin, but no, it turns out they are brother and sister. Luckily, never playing Jasmine and Aladdin in the same show. Because that would just be gross.
Creepy. Yeah.
Yes. And it was funny though. They played it up really well about being brother and sister. And it was pretty cute. I mean, it was shorter than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. It was like a 15-20 minute show.
I really enjoyed it very much. They're incredibly talented people. They did some really good songs. It was a lot shorter than I thought it would be, considering all the prep we had to go into seeing them. Yeah. My favorite part, of course, was the girls dancing to the High School Musical song. And then another young girl, I assumed she was younger than the girls, came and just thought they were so cool. And I was like, I'm so proud of them.
They were dancing. It was good. But so that was fun. And then the food booths actually had the food that they were giving was art in itself, right? So there was a whole booth with like deconstructed food. So you had your deconstructed lime pie, your deconstructed apple pie. Like it was just so fun.
Very
and then
artsy, like small bites from different countries, and it was really cool.
It was very fun. Did you have a favorite? The beef Wellington, I loved.
I didn't get a chance to taste the beef Wellington, but I will say that that
was my dog.
There were two things that I really wanted to taste, and I was not able to get either one of them. And one was because it happened to be at the place where they were selling the Figment popcorn bucket.
Yeah, right.
It was the Pop Eats. And they had tomato soup with bacon, apple, and brie grilled cheese. And I was like, oh my God, that is built for me.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to get anywhere near that. And I feel bad because I don't know if anybody was really buying the food when they got to the end of that, end of that line. And I guess a couple of days later, they changed it so that you could actually maybe buy the food.
Yeah.
And then the China, there was shumai. And we tried. And by the time we got there, they were sold out.
Well, yeah, it was such a bummer. We don't have any more. I'm like,
because I love shumai. It is like so good. And it just, I wanted to taste it.
But you didn't. But the fried risotto balls, you had some of those, didn't you? Those were so good.
I think because we sort of had two times where we stopped and ate. And the first time I was having to just eat as much protein as possible because I hadn't eaten all day.
Right.
You guys were eating exotic food and I was just eating ribs. And then the second time I was able to taste some stuff, but the risotto balls looked good. The beef Wellington looked good. I can't remember what I did eat. It was the second time I was able to eat some stuff.
They were good. Oh, and then Emma you weren't there the time Emma ate this, but Emma in Canada ate the roasted bone marrow.
Oh, that sounds good.
I do have an adventurous eater in my family, and then we just sort of follow whatever it is she wants to eat. But fun stuff and really artistic. I mean, they did the food. It was just really pretty, and so
it's gorgeous.
Emma took lots of pictures, and it was really fun. And
here's the thing: I am not a fancy foods guy. Like, that's just never been like. I'm like, why is this food so fancy? But like, it was good. Like, it was not only like really cool and fancy and artistically put together, but it was just really tasty. I mean, it doesn't sound like it because I can't remember what I ate, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I would from the West Coast make a special trip to go to the Festival of the Arts, and I assume the Food and Wine Festival is similar.
Food and Wine Festival is great, but I expect good food when I'm at the Food and Wine Festival.
I did have the sipping chocolate.
Oh, that's right.
And it almost blew my head off.
That's right.
So it was really good, but it was so sweet that like my eyes sort of spun around like when Daffy Duck gets shot in the face by Elmer Fudd. Like, it was so like I just took a little sip, and oh my God, it was so sweet. It was really good though.
Really good. And yes, I agree with you. I would also from the West Coast make a trip to go to the Festival of the Arts. Next time I'm going to go in the middle to the end. I'm not going at the beginning. And also this has nothing to do with the food, but people who are still in Orlando right now and in Florida and going to Disney World on a regular basis are still making comments about the crowds. Now, the last week of January traditionally has always been like probably the lowest crowd date of the year. We've been before on that date. It's wonderful. And I was watching everybody who was there last week, and they're like, where are all these people from? So this year is crowded, and I don't know if it's because of the 50th, or if it's because nobody's been able to travel for 2 years, or
I have to wonder if it's because they have a whole new crowd control system, which allows them to even out the crowds more, which is great on those days when it was super crowded and you couldn't do anything, but not so great on those days when it was used to be dead, and now they're getting more people in there. So, I also think that like they still call them annual pass ports back in Walt Disney World. I think that's always going to impact sort of those types of festivals where all of a sudden they annual pass holders. And our first day there was a Friday. So even though it's our day at the Festival of the Arts was a Friday. So even though it's technically not a weekend, I wonder if it would have been better Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You all went back on Sunday, right?
We went back on Sunday. That's correct. And it was Martin Luther King's birthday weekend too. So that was.
And Martin Luther King would have wanted us to eat.
Yes, I'm sure he would have. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that even last week, when the festival's been on for a couple of weeks and it's traditionally the lowest crowd time, people going said it was still crowded all last week. And so I don't know.
People are just, I got to get out of the house. Like, I'm still pretty quarantined.
That could be.
And sometimes I just got to get out of the house.
But we had even, there was some good food. We had some good food while we were there. But also the food that I thought would be good, that we paid a lot to be good, I didn't think was so good. So, I don't know, just, I think I talked in part 1 about how before you got there, we went to some higher end restaurants, some prefix, restaurants where they fix the price. You pay one price, you go in. Cape May has always been a buffet, but because of COVID, they made it like a bring your platter of food. Ohana is the same way, bring your platter of food. And I think we were talking about this in part 1, is that those just did not match up to the price, in my opinion. And I think we were talking about our palates being different now that we were older or something, but I don't know. I'd be kind of curious from our listeners if they've been to any of those restaurants lately and what they think.
Well, and I have to wonder with the prefix, right? Like it's supposed, like that's the whole point of prefix is we are going to just give you, you're going to pay one price, not worry about it. And we are going to curate this deal for you, right? It's going to be just the most fabulous, wonderful, thing you've ever eaten. And I just have to wonder if, with supply chain shortages and all kinds of stuff, if that's just not as reasonable right now. But then again, I had a couple of really great meals when I was there. I didn't do any of the prefix stuff. I don't know why. I would have been happy to, but I wasn't invited apparently.
You weren't invited. And can we just, I'm going to stop right now and tell our listeners why you weren't invited. First of all, 2 of these were before you even got there and we didn't know we were eating there. It was a last minute thing to even get in. Second of all, listeners, I made a choice not to book any prefix menus while Al was there because I thought I was being considerate because he cannot eat a lot of food. And I did not want him to spend like $60 to $75 for a meal he couldn't eat.
I couldn't eat. And we did talk about this before, so I'm being a little bit facetious and pretending to be more upset than I am.
But I do feel a little bit bad because I took that responsibility upon myself. So yeah, I really apologize for that.
Honestly, I had one of the best meals I've ever had in my life.
You want to talk about that?
While I was there, we went to the at Disney Springs. There's a restaurant called the Polite Pig for basically barbecue type restaurant. Oh my dear God! Everything I ate there, every bite was better than the last bite. It was definitely top 3 meals of my life. Right. I would put it's close to when I had dim sum in Hong Kong. It was so freaking good. I am very upset that I cannot go back there unless I fly to Florida, and I will fly to Florida and go back there again. I will.
Just been the day before, we had just been to the Regal Eagle at Epcot and had barbecued food. And that was a disappointment.
Yeah.
And then we went to Polite Pig and you're like, whoa.
Well, because, and I think part of it was like, well, we just had barbecue. Why should
I know.
It was because there's barbecue that's like, yeah, we got to make barbecue for the 10,000 people that are showing up. And there's barbecue as someone who prides himself on his own barbecue. There's barbecue. You can tell when whoever's in back is like, oh, I'm going to barbecue versus, yeah, it's my shift and I got to get something done. Whoever is cooking at the Polite Pig is cooking to impress. It was so good.
So fantastic. I was actually really impressed with Downtown Disney this time. And that's
Disney Springs, you mean?
Well, every time Disney Springs, my fault.
I get it confused. And now Disney's got different names on the coast, so it's even more confusing.
You are so right. Okay, everybody, I'm so sorry. It's Disney Springs on the east and Downtown Disney still on the west. So my fault. Disney Springs impressed me. Sometimes we go and it doesn't impress me, but I think what happened this time is the non-planned restaurants just surprised the heck out of me, and in a good way. And everything I planned for just fell flat. And before you got there too, it was a last minute decision, but we were hungry. I think I mentioned this in part 1. We ended up going to Jaleo by Jose Andres. Tapas and small plates of food. It was a last minute. We were hungry. We were tired. Oh my God. The food was amazing.
Well, and I think part of having a good meal, at least for me, is the surprise. Like if I almost never enjoy a meal if I've anticipated it too much.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Where it's like, oh, I'm going to this place. It's hard to live up to your imagination. But and my history is some of the best places I've ever eaten have been places that I just ate because I was hungry and I didn't have time and I could never find again. And I leave that place and go, oh my God, that was the best blank or whatever I've had, I'm known for the best restaurants probably aren't the healthiest restaurants, whether that be the content of the food or the cleanliness of the place, but the food's really good.
Well, it was just, I don't know. I think Cape May and Ohana just really, I don't want to overstate this, but I am overstating it. I was so disappointed. And it's just because, I don't know what it is. It was so much food. It was so much food, right? I mean, first of all, and I'm talking on my stomach, not even on your stomach. Yeah. Right.
And I don't know if our listeners, we've mentioned our listeners, I had a surgery a couple years ago, so I can't eat very much at once. So about 3 ounces of protein and I'm done, but I still very much enjoy eating. So,
but it just, I was really disappointed. It wasn't a great meal and it was so dang expensive, right? For some of those, you're anywhere from 60 to 85.
Yeah.
$12 a person, and we've got 4 adults in our family right now. I want some dang good food if I'm going to spend that much. And not only was it not great, you kind of felt like if you didn't eat it, you weren't getting your money's worth. Right.
Yeah. Because you've already spent, right?
And so you're like, yeah, I guess bring another platter. I'm not really hungry, but sure.
Well, and the other thing is you're on vacation. So it's like you all had a place you could take stuff back. Mm-hmm. But in general, like taking stuff back to your hotel room on vacation, I just end up throwing out a lot of food, right? So half the time I'm not even going to take it with me.
How'd you feel about Primetime Cafe at Hollywood Studios when we went this time?
I liked Primetime Cafe for the ambiance.
Yeah.
The food was just okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't like I would go, like if there was a Primetime Cafe outside of Disney in town, I probably wouldn't go there that often.
It's definitely
I would go. Yeah, it's for the ambiance.
Yeah, it's never we go there a lot. It seems like every time we say, we're done, we don't need to go, and then we always end up going because we know what's there, I think. And but I was glad that you and I split a meal. At that time, that helped a lot. It wasn't like so much food. One thing though that we did this time that we have not done before, you weren't with us, but we ate at lounges. So when we were just tired and not that hungry, the first night we got there, we just kind of wanted to like eat and go to bed. And the restaurants were all booked. We ended up going to the lounges off of the restaurants, and those turned out to be really good. You get a bowl of soup or a sandwich and you're good to go. One thing though, I want to point out, we went to Territory Lounge, which was in the Wilderness Lodge where we stayed. And this was a happy surprise. Last time we were at Disney, the 4 Zomermans went to the Artist Point storybook character meal with Snow White, everything. It is a fantastic meal. It's probably the best character meal I've ever had, anywhere. Loved it. One of the things I loved was the mushroom soup that they gave you at the beginning. They give you these little crocks of mushroom soup, and I loved it. And I've been thinking about it for 2 years. And so when we went to the Territory Lounge, which is right off of Artist Point, one of their offerings was a bowl of mushroom bisque. And I was like, score!
Nice.
Like, that was such a happy surprise.
Well, and I'll be honest, like one of the things I learned on this trip was, and you've talked about this before, but I think it was for the most part, we talked about this a little bit in our last episode, which is oftentimes some of the better options are not at the parks, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
Like particularly for food and stuff like that.
Agreed.
Like, it's really good quality outside of the parks, still sort of on Disney property, but outside of the parks. But B, the pressure of whenever we ate in a park, inside the park, even if it was something that was pretty decent, there's this pressure of, okay, we got to eat this, we got to do real fast and go do the next thing, as opposed to just like, hey, let's have a meal and enjoy ourselves and enjoy each other's companies. And make fun of Annika and Emma. And then we can, it's just a nicer way of sort of going through life, I think. And so for me, that was really kind of the advantage of it. I'm not going to
lie. Well, I was really impressed this time with resort restaurants. They impressed me more this time, I think, than times past. Even staying at the Wilderness Lodge. And we got this food we got this food a couple times. One of the times we got it to go, and that's when we ate in our hotel room when you were with us, was the Geyser Point Bar and Grill. Before you got there again, we were hanging out at the pool one day and we were hungry for lunch. So we went to the lounge that was by the pool. And I've been to pool lounges before and they're nothing to write home about. Get a corn dog and some nuggets or something like that. But no. Geyser Point Bar and Grill was like actual real food, like healthy food, good food. And I really liked it. Enough so that we went back there a couple times to get food to go.
And that to me is like when you're on vacation and you have so many options, which, of course you have at Disney Park, when you're like, I got to go back to this place. That's real. I think that's sort of like the biggest compliment, for lack of a better term. Like, oh no, we're going here again. And if I would have had time to go back to the Polite Pig, I would have. I may just see if I can get a cheap Southwest flight. and
to go to the polite
Polite
pig.
But
Like you're not
let me
going to
ask-
go to actually Memphis or Kansas City or anything. You're actually like you wouldn't
No,
go
I'm
to
gonna
the
go to the
home
polite
of
pig.
barbecue.
Yeah,
You're going to go to the polite
Orlando,
pig.
Florida, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
Look, I don't say this a lot, and this is really hard for me. I'm gonna get a little bit emotional. It may be better than my barbecue.
I don't know. I haven't had yours, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I'm pretty good.
I
And it may be better.
love their side dishes. I really do like the polite pig, and that is somewhere we go often when we go back. I mean, it's right at Disney Springs. God, I got to train my brain not to say downtown Disney. What is wrong?
You're gonna
with me?
change
Like,
it again, and it's downtown Disney at Disneyland. So
it's
you know.
always been there. I know. And this makes no difference to those of you who live outside of Portland, Oregon. But for my Portland, Oregon friends, who know that Salt and Straw is a big ice cream place that started here in Portland. And it's down in Disneyland right now at downtown Disney. They are opening up a Salt and Straw at Disney Springs in Orlando. So Salt and Straw is getting big.
And
So.
okay, help me understand Salt and Straw. And I know we have to move on to because we want to talk about Space 220, but everybody talks about Salt and Straw. I was like, okay, cool. Let me because there's one at Disneyland. Let me check this place out. And then I look at the website, and is it all like savory ice cream? Because I don't know that I'm down with savory ice cream.
No, my kids don't eat savory ice cream. They have like a menu of their regular flavors, and then each month they have like 5 rotating flavors in there in addition to. And yes, my favorite happened to be the savory-ish. Like my favorite is pear and blue cheese. I love pear and blue cheese ice cream. But no, like the kids don't eat savory ice cream or anything like that.
Because that when I looked at it, that's what everybody was raving about. They were like, it's turkey and gravy ice cream. And I was like, I'm not. That's not going to be a thing. I'm going to.
And actually, that's the first time I always joke with my kids at school, because at Halloween time, they have like this crispy critter ice cream, and it has like brittled termites and ants and grasshoppers. And it's so good. It's like in this kind of a mojito base ice cream. It's just really good. But so they do have some crazy flavors. You don't have to try the gross ones if you don't want to, but
because when I was last time in Portland is like this. Last time I was in Portland, I went to the Voodoo Donuts.
Yeah.
And I was like, everybody talks about Voodoo Donuts. I went to Voodoo Donuts, and I was really underwhelmed with they had a lot of really cool fancy donuts, but you know what I was underwhelmed with? The donut itself.
Yeah. Well, that's Voodoo. Like, I hate to tell you that. That's Voodoo. That got tourists. You got to go to Blue Star, man. Blue Star's the place to go.
Which was like right next door, but I didn't go there. And I'm like, if you can't, and I'm the guy, if you can't make a basic glazed donut, then I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't go to Voodoo for basic glazed.
Yeah.
You go to Voodoo for profane shaped donuts.
All right.
Yeah. Other than that, you have no reason to go to Voodoo. But yes, let's talk about Space 220, the newest restaurant at Epcot, the one restaurant that is hard as heck to get reservations.
And is it licensed from the 1970s era TV show Space 1999?
No.
Missed opportunity.
It is. It's called Space 220 because it is located 220 miles above Earth in a space station that is anchored to Earth. And that is why we don't float away.
Is this one of those things where I'm not supposed to point out that that's not a thing so that the kids...
Suspension of disbelief, my friend. Suspension of disbelief. And you can't tell me differently because I looked out the window and we actually flew up from Epcot. I have it on video and we flew up from Florida. And so I looked out the window and Florida is like this little teeny tiny thing. So, and then when we came back, I videoed it again and you could see us coming towards Florida. So
hey, you went, I didn't, I can't, you
absolutely cannot say anything, but I would like to talk about Space 220 because there are differing opinions from everyone who goes. I don't know. Interesting. We went for lunch because, we're cheapskates and it was $55 instead of $80. So we didn't get dessert because we just got the appetizer and the entree. Now, I will say one thing I liked is it was a prefix. So you pay your price, but you pick your appetizer and your entree. It's not like they just bring out hordes of platters of food. I like that. It wasn't all you can eat. Some people may not like that, but I liked the portion size. It didn't make me feel like I was gorging. It was okay. I left there not feeling like I needed to barf my guts out or fall asleep for a year. It was nice.
Well, now here's my question with that. So it was an appropriate portion size.
Yes.
And it was a pleasant meal, but was it a fantastic meal?
It was not fantastic, but it was also $55 and not $100. So in Disney price terms, maybe that would be like a $30 meal in other places in
which
the United
is,
States.
Really pretty reasonable. Yeah.
When you're looking at it, also reasonable because my lovely daughter who works at Disney had a Christmas coupon with her for 50% off at a restaurant. So that made it lovelier. However, they were able to bump that price right back up with the alcohol they all ordered. So,
well, there you go. Right.
Which was not included in the coupon. But,
that's why they don't include it in coupon, by the way. There's a reason.
There is a reason. But I also want to tell you and our listeners, it's really hard to get a reservation here. Okay. And so Disney has a policy where you make your advanced dining reservations. You can get them at your date, your first date that you're going to be there, plus 10 days out. Okay. So think about that. So I had our first day that we were going to be there, and then I could book it, plus 10 days out. Well, I could not get reservations during the week when Al was here. I can only get reservations on our very last day, which was a Sunday. Okay. So fine. So the four of us are going on Sunday. My initial thought was, hey, we are all going to try to get into the lounge because the lounge does not take reservations. So the five of us, while we're at Epcot, we'll just stand in line to get in the lounge. And then the four of us will see it with Al. Probably don't need to keep our reservation for Sunday. And then it will that's great.
Right.
Call it even, Steven. Al will see it. We're all good. However, right before we got there, they changed the policy. And now you do need a reservation to go to the lounge. So
that's what happened. I was curious because,
So that one day when I walked up and I said, you really need a reservation? They said, yeah, you need a reservation now, which kind of stinks, right? Okay, whatever.
Right.
So we still were hemming and hawing on whether to go. We ended up going, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad we went just to see it. However, when we were there, if you looked into the lounge where we tried to make reservations, there were a lot of empty tables. So I don't think they're filling the lounge up, to tell you the truth. I don't know if it's staffing issues or COVID issues, but they were not a full lounge when we were there. What you're looking?
Because what I'm trying to figure out is I'm not a business-minded person, but like from Disney's perspective, is it better to maintain that sort of exclusivity and not fill it, or just be like, look, folks, there's plenty of reservations, just get in here, or cut the price? Like, I'm trying to figure out why there would be empty spaces, because it was crowded. The park was crowded.
Yeah, but you have to make reservations to get into the lounge. And I was never able to make reservations to get in the lounge. It was always booked. But I'm wondering, is it all the way booked, or are they just not filling it to capacity?
I mean, that's my question, right? Like, I don't know. It just makes no sense. It seems like you're leaving money on the table.
I know. So I don't know what happened that day. If it was just on the Sunday that we were there, I have no idea. I will add the link to the menu of Space 220 on our show notes so you can see it. But their food was above adequate. I wouldn't say it was fantastic, but it was really.
They're going to put that on their poster. Andy says food above adequate.
It was a great time. Now, it's not a Disney-owned restaurant. It's owned by a third party. And so does that make a difference? I have no idea.
I remember, what was it? There was something on the menu that Annika really wanted. Was it spaghetti? What was it?
Oh, it was a kid's meal and she couldn't get it. It was.
Ew.
It was called Space-Getty.
Space-Getty. You know what's interesting? What's weird about that? At 52 years old, if I was there, I could have gotten it because I have the little card.
You do have the little card. And knowing what I know now, or what I remembered, She probably could have gotten it. She just would have gotten a double portion and paid the adult price. You can do that. Yeah.
They're not, once you're in there, you've already paid. They're not gonna care.
All four of us ended up getting the steak. We usually don't order the same meal because we wanted to try others.
Yeah, try everybody else.
I didn't want a burger, and I didn't want pasta, and I didn't want.
Yeah, you don't want to pay $55 for a hamburger.
That's what I'm saying. And so, and here I'm a salmon snob. Just to all of you out there, I don't eat farm salmon. I only eat wild salmon, and so Disney buys farm salmon, so I won't eat their salmon. So steak was the way to go for me. I was looking at the seared tuna, which looked really good, but a very similar dish was offered as an appetizer in a smaller portion. And so I'm like, well, okay, I'll just get the appetizer of that. And then I can have both. I'm like, well, I'll just do that. So was it worth it? I don't know. I would say if you are into ambiance and you like, it was kind of cool. It was like you were in space. It really was like you had astronauts floating by and yeah, it was unique. But do I need to go a billion times? No.
Okay, if we go again, or if you and the family go again, you just find yourself there, how much effort would you put towards making another reservation?
We wouldn't go again if it was just four of us.
Okay.
If we had somebody like you with us, just to show you, we would probably go and we'd be okay with it.
But it's not the kind of, it's like, hey, we had the experience. We're not particularly motivated to have it again.
No. It's not like Polite Pig, right? It's not like,
oh my God, why did you say that? Now I got to go make a can of soup or something.
Oh man. Well, it was a fun time. And I would love to hear, I know other people that listen to this have been to Space 20. I'd kind of like to listen to their thoughts about it too. Or actually what favorite restaurants are, what am I missing? What have we not gone to that's actually worth the money to go to? You know what I'm saying?
That's true. And not only Disney World, but Disneyland as well. Emma and I were having this conversation when we were there about, I feel like over the last 10 years, Disneyland's food has just improved 3,000%. And even Emma, who's more of a Disney World person than a Disneyland person, was like, I feel like the food's a little better at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So I'm just really curious of folks' thoughts on both parks. Because Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen is great, but the Polite Pig, I want to marry. So I don't know.
And I know you like Ralph Brennan's, but have you been since the COVID menu has come out?
I have not.
I was disappointed. They only had a couple of things on the menu, and I was not impressed. But when you and I went to Carthay Circle, it was amazing.
Carthay Circle was amazing.
Emma even went to she works at Wine Country Trattoria. She and her boyfriend went to go have a meal there the other day. She said it was really good. So she's worked there for months, but yeah. So food, man, food's where it's at for some of us going to these Disney parks. Yeah. you can have your character meet and greet. You can have your attractions.
At my age, I have ridden Big Thunder, but there's food that I still haven't eaten. So give me a beignet. I may get more pleasure out of a good beignet than I do out of Big Thunder. But
right. It's all there.
Oh, and before we leave, weird thing, very few churros at Walt Disney World. I know maybe it's a West Coast thing, but there for 5 days, did not eat one churro. I don't know that I've been at Disneyland for 5 hours without eating a churro.
Yeah, we were hard pressed to find a churro.
I only saw one churro stand in 5 days.
Also, I wasn't craving the popcorn as much as I do at Disneyland.
Yeah, something about the popcorn. I think they strategically put that popcorn stand right when you walk in, and then all day you're going.
That could be. That could be.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, you've heard us talk about food. We need your advice on food. What have we missed? Where should we go? What is worth the money to be eating at a Disney park? We will share some of the things that we talked about at duelingdisney.com and share and ask on Facebook at Dueling Disney. Twitter and Instagram are at dueling_Disney. And you can always get a hold of us with your images or posts if you hashtag Dueling Disney. Please leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Coming soon to video cassette, the magic, the music, the masterpiece. One of Walt Disney's greatest podcasts is coming your way on video. Dueling Disney,